Hi, my name is Kai, and I'm on a mission to make it to Snapshots in Set 9. And in order to prepare as much as I possibly can before the set drops onto the live servers, my journey has brought me to hell on earth. Google Sheets. I'm not great at Excel, but in order to achieve greatness and to experience the riches and glory that only the pros have achieved, I must venture into the depths of Excel. Get it? Cause Excel, hell, hell. Haha. What the fuck am I doing with my life? To build and amass an information hub accrued with treacherous effort and watching way too many streamers, I can only hope that it will all be worth it when the dust has settled and all that remains are the cells of my own self-abuse. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 2, The Excel Sheet. In the previous video, I had briefly mentioned that I had a spreadsheet that I was creating that was dedicated to my preparation. At the time of filming that portion of the video though, while some of the information on there was good, a lot of it was still kind of bad and definitely miscellaneous and not actually that important. But the time has finally come. Today is Thursday. I'm spending all day today as well as all day on Saturday to hopefully finish up the Excel sheet so that all of you guys watching this video will have access to it. I'm not working on Friday because I'm very busy on Fridays in case anybody's wondering. But yeah, shouldn't be too bad, right? Right? Ladies and gentlemen, today is Sunday. Technically Monday. It is 2:30 in the fucking morning, but it is done. It does not help with the fact that Emily Wang had hosted a PBE tourney, so I ended up watching a lot of the tourney and taking a lot of notes from the tourney and implemented it into my spreadsheet and had to make a couple adjustments, which took quite a while. But we are finally here. It is done, and without further ado, I present to you all the spreadsheet. Oh, it's finally done. Okay, so this is the spreadsheet. There's an introduction here. We're not gonna go over any of that, but we're just gonna quickly just do a quick glance over the spreadsheet, and feel free, please go into the spreadsheet. You will all have access to it. It will be in the link in the description below. Plus, if you have anything that you think that I should update on the spreadsheet about, please leave it in the comments. Let me know, if you think that this thing was not actually as accurate, you think this thing might be better instead, leave it in the comments. Let me know. I will be updating this until the set actually drops onto the live servers, and then I don't think I'll keep updating it as the set goes on. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fucking work, but maybe I will if somehow I get convinced or I get on a study team. I don't know. I'll let you know. Anyways, let's just quickly go through the spreadsheet and what we can take away from this. This is the region/portals sheet. You got a really quick glance at this at the actually in episode 1, but it was not nearly finished. But here you can see all the different regions. All of them have a description of what the region is in case you don't know what they do yet, plus just things to note, like let's say for example you're playing in Scuttle Puddle. Very easy to make 10 gold by 2-1. It's possible to tempo really hard with the win streak augments with 10 gold 2-1 at level 4. Just things to keep in mind. They all have their different things that like you should, if you go into this realm, maybe just don't forget this important thing when you go into that realm. Obviously none of them are very like deep. Like this one says like can greed BIS pretty easily. There's not much to take away from some of these realms. Other ones have some really important ones. For example, the Targon Prime one, when you reach 40 HP you gain this the slang is stimmy, like a stimulus package, right? But you get a little stimmy from the Targonian gods. I don't know all of the blessings yet. I don't think they've dropped all of the information, just from my experience playing on this realm a few times. One of them was like a spat plus 2 components and 10 gold. Another one was a tome plus 20-ish gold. I don't really know, again, all of the blessings yet, but if you have any that you'd like to include, please let me know and I'll update the list. There are also just combinations like, hey, if you play this legend on this realm, you might be in a better spot than others. You might also notice that Vladimir and Pearl are good in literally every single realm, and that is because, like I've said before, I don't think Legends is a great mechanic. I'm sorry, but quite honestly, I think if you're not taking Vladimir, just take Poro, and that's it. There's not much else to really talk about. There's been a little bit of debate about whether or not Twisted Fate is actually really good or not. I think he's okay. He's really great in reroll compositions because you get to force Pandora's items, and then you get to spike your board earlier than everybody else because you're ahead of tempo because you're rerolling. But other than that, though, it's not like you're playing reroll every game, and most of the times playing flex is just the easier / better option, if you will. So Vladimir just always makes more sense, and I think Poro always just like, that way you have an extra augment on 3-2 or 4-3 that you can take without feeling so guilty. But yeah, the only one that is like slightly like situational is Caitlyn, but obviously because you can't choose your legend before the realm, you know, like why would you take Caitlyn? It's just like, unless you hit the sump or if you hit like the university, it's not really worth taking. So, you know, I don't think Legends is that great. I had like a whole Legends X compositions list like a while back that originally that was one of the sheets in this thing, but again, I just don't think Legends matter. I still don't think Legends matter. So even after the Emily Wang tournament, I'm not convinced that they do much, if anything at all. All I will say though is that I do think Poro and Vladimir are the only two ones that really make sense, and that's about it. Anyways, I could yap forever about Legends. Let's move on. This is the reroll comp list. Now, not every single reroll board I'm sure is listed on here. I'm sure there are some that I'm forgetting or some that I just haven't play tested yet, but anything in here that is like a potential reroll board will be in here. Also, any of the vertical boards are in here as well. Demacia, Sorcerer, Void, Shurima, Challengers, etc. I covered the important ones. I don't think I covered, maybe there's like a vertical in here that I maybe forgot to include, but I'm sure there's some that I missed. Again, this isn't fully comprehensive. This is just what I've noticed during the PBE, and just, you know, don't use it as like your bread and butter, but, you know, look into it and see what else you can find in here. Maybe there's a board in here you might not have thought of. Personally speaking, my favorite one is reroll Kassadin. This board is just so fucking fun. It's so illegal how good this board is. Kassadin's hero augment is just really, really cool as well, and the way you position Kassadin can vary with his hero augment because the way that his Rift Walk works. You never want to position him middle, you always want to position him left and right. And there's a very interesting counter to this board, which is, I actually didn't list it on the spreadsheet, but if you're playing into a Kassadin reroll player, if you have a Lysandra and you put her in like the zero hex, Kassadin just ults into the back here, and then he just gets perma CC'd, and he can't do anything. So that's just, you know, just some really cool things to keep in mind. But still, I love Kassadin. It's really, really cool. Moving on to the next one, this is the standard comp lists. This is just what you can expect, level 7 boards, level 8 boards, and what you can play on those boards. But I will say, though, the reason why I made level 7 and level 8, and like why there's two separate ones, even though they share some of the same carries, like you might notice there's Aphelios board and there's Aphelios board at level 7 and level 8. It's basically the same thing. The reason why I have this is because sometimes there are going to be games where you low roll, and you won't be able to go level 8. You need a hard stabilize on 7 before you can even think about going level 8, meaning that you're basically rolling on 7, praying to hit that 2-star 4 cost, trying to hit whatever you can, trying to stabilize, maybe get a top 4, but maybe even a 6, then just move on, go to the next game. Just to keep in mind that these level 7 boards, whenever you're doing your roll downs at level 7, you're sending in on like 4-1, trying to make sure you stabilize, or maybe even 3-5, trying to make sure you stabilize so that you can just try to go, pray you can go level 8, and you're playing and flexing around any 2-star 4 cost that you might hit. That's why you can see that the boards here are actually just the name of the carries, and I've basically covered every single carry that I could think of that's a 4 cost that is playable. Playable as in not like, oh, like it's meta, but rather like, oh, like it's a playable 4 cost carry, you know? And then if you 2-star any of these, then you can start revolving your board around them, right? And then obviously level 8 is if you manage to like stabilize decently enough on 7, you can go 8, and then these are just, you know, some of the boards that I've noticed that are pretty really nice. Also on here, you'll notice that there's double trouble boards as well. There's only a couple of them, as well as one example built different board. There's not much to talk about when it comes to these boards, because double trouble is all about playing around whatever you hit, and built different is basically the same thing. I will say though that for double trouble boards, Bash and Gunners seems to be the most consistent one, but actually taking double trouble with, well, actually built different, but that's always been a good synergy. But double trouble boards with hero augments are surprisingly very strong. I got the chance to play Hero Kassadin double trouble, which was like the craziest, strongest board I've played during the PBE. It's one of the best ones in my opinion. The only issue with it though is that you have to hit double trouble and the hero augment, so it's very difficult to find. But if you do manage to find it, I think it's definitely a very hard forceable line. Built different, the only takeaway that I've really noticed, because there isn't that many units with CC, you can play like multiple Jarvans on your board, and that's totally fine. There's really not much else to it. Jarvan is just the best tank, so playing duplicates of it is fine. I'm sure that you can also play double trouble with Talia as well. I haven't had a chance to test it yet, but I'm sure that it's definitely a viable line as well. Amongst with some other lines like Hero Swain with Teemo, double trouble Ro. Again, you can see that I wrote haven't tested, but probably fine. Next page are a bunch of interactions that I think are important to keep in mind. On here, this is just a list of all of the units that provide some level of CC or utility for your team. And then it's actually color coded here. You can see the legend on the right side here, so you can see which ones that you're looking for. Maybe some sort of ally buffs, shielding for, like, let's say you're playing a Senna comp and you're like, hey, like, what units shield my board? Like, oh, Oriana, Shen, Senna, stuff like that, right? There are some heuristics here as well. If on the left side, my camera is covering a little bit here on this left hand side, but if you don't know anything about set 9, you haven't been able to play the PvE, and you're like, I'm going in blind, what do I need to know? This is like the easiest way. It takes previous sets from set 6, because I don't know anything before set 6, but from set 6 and above, any traits previously that are very similar to the current traits that are within set 9. For example, Noxus is very similar to Anima Squad. Oh, you know what? My camera's covering that one, so let's talk about a different one. But for example, like, Rogue is basically Assassins, but it's a little more balanced. And then Invoker is basically Evokers from set 7, or Void is basically Innovator from set 6. These are like some easy ways to think about the set, so you're not completely blind going into it. On the right hand side, you might notice that there are also units that I think they just have some important things you should keep in mind whenever you're playing them. For example, I think I'll go over like the more notable ones, I think. For example, Heimerdinger. If you upgrade the turret and you sell the turret will keep the upgrades. So you buy Heimer, upgrade the turret, sell it, and then you buy it again. It'll retain the upgrades. Don't have to worry about rebuying the upgrades. That's not a problem. Another one too is Ahri. The way that her ability works, first off, her third cast is super important, so you need mana regen items on her. But also, she punishes clumping with AoE mana reaving. So, for example, let's say you're playing Ahri, right? And you're in this scenario. Let's say that this is you, right? Let's say this is you playing with the Ahri, and this is your opponent, okay? In an ideal scenario, even if Ahri is your carry, you wouldn't want to position her ideally in the corners in the scenario. You'd actually want to position her somewhere in the middle, because again, she AoE mana reaves. So in this scenario, you want her to be targeting Sejuani here, because if she targets Sejuani, she will mana reave Sion, Sedge, Taric, and Lissandra, because she'll mana reave the adjacent units of whoever she's targeting. If you position her on the left side here in the corner, she'll only mana reave Shen and Sion, and on the right side, Taric, Lissandra, Sejuani. You get the idea. So make sure whenever you're playing Ahri, you target her to try to focus the largest clump whenever you can. Finally, moving on to the augments tab. This is just a bunch of just augments I think are, again, niche interactions or important to note, but I mean, like, a few are highlighted as well. I'll just go over a couple of them. Like, for example, return on investment. You pair this with a reroll augment, like Think Fast, Golden Ticket. It's super strong. You basically get a fawn out of your gold augment. It's pretty nice. Also, there's something like Shoplifting, where you pair it with medium and shopping. You just basically get to play for like a potential 3-star 4 cost at level 7, which is like insane. Silver Spoon 2-1, if you have a really strong start already, then you can consider taking Silver Spoon to just expedite that board strength with XP and an extra unit. You're basically playing up a fawn for like most of stage 2. So keep that in mind. This is actually really nice to take at 2-1. I think it's actually a bit slept on. There are a couple augments as well you should keep in mind and try to avoid, actually. For example, Shopping Spree. I think it's kind of agreed upon that it's kind of worse than its silver alternative called Honor Roll. It's Lee Sin's hero augment, actually. So the reason why it's not that good is because with the Lee Sin silver augment on a roll, you can actually just keep buying all the 1 costs and then sell the 1 cost and keep refreshing rolls. You basically get like infinite rolls. There's a pretty popular clip from TFT Clips. I think it was taken from Boxbox's stream, where Boxbox is just hitting so many rolls because he just keeps hitting free rolls with honor roll. There's also Wellness Trust. I think this is the worst prismatic in the game. It's literally metabolic accelerated but worse, because in order to get the 2 HP heal, you need to be above 50 gold, which is like stupid as fuck. Like, who would, like, why is that a thing? But that's basically it for this episode. This one's probably a bit shorter than other episodes. I do apologize, but again, I spent like 3 whole days like just fucking working on this Excel sheet. It's available to you. Links in the description. If you have any constructive criticism for it, leave it in the comments. I'll happily look over them and take your advice. Anyways, that's basically it for this video. I will see you guys in episode 3 that I will probably drop right before the set drops onto the live servers. And happy climbing. Take care, guys.